I'm Non-Zero Sum James, your companion on this exploration of win-win games. Capitalism, a zero-sum game? Oliver Stone's Wall Street is an interesting example of capitalism because it's a story told by left-wing progressives about their political opponents, so it says something about both sides. And it says a lot about zero-sum games. In fact, Gordon Gekko in the film says directly, it's not a question of enough, pal, it's a zero-sum game. Somebody wins, somebody loses, money isn't lost or made, it's simply transferred. Stone, the son of a Wall Street stockbroker, along with screenwriter Stanley Weiser, intensely researched the stock exchange. They sought to know their subject inside and out before delivering what they hoped to be a searing critique of predatory capitalism. But it turns out that they may have pushed too far, straying into caricature when Gordon Gekko claims that capitalism is a zero-sum game. This would ultimately backfire in the real world. Is capitalism a zero-sum game? The traditional view of capitalism is characterized by Adam Smith when he writes, "It is not for the benevolence..." Should I do this in a Scottish accent? "It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest." Sorry. The logic of the market is one where self-interested parties can mutually benefit by trading what they produce in surplus for what they lack. Capitalism is little more than a market economy, where ordinary individuals can accumulate wealth through capital investment, as opposed to older aristocratic or feudal systems. And given the right parameters and regulations, this can lead to the growth of business and innovation. Taking this definition, it's difficult to make a case that capitalism is zero-sum. It is, at its core, about mutual benefit, which can be achieved even in a competitive environment. So, I'm not making a political statement, but a factual one, when I say that capitalism is a non-zero-sum game. Mercantilism, on the other hand, is zero-sum. A system sometimes conflated with capitalism is mercantilism, which concerns the comparative advantage different countries have over one another. Under mercantilism, we see countries vying to export more than they import, increasing the flow of capital into their country, meaning that relative to other countries, they are becoming richer. In the anarchic field of international relations, powerful nations have historically been able to bully others, effectively controlling the free market in a way that benefits its most powerful contributors. We have seen this mercantilist imperative return with the recent tariffs imposed by Trump. This is actually contrary to free market principles and undercuts the non-zero-sum benefits that come with free trade. These benefits include more competitive pricing for goods, less friction in production leading to greater efficiency, and the development of interdependent relationships between countries that disincentivize global conflict. But returning to capitalism, balance. The fact that capitalism is non-zero-sum doesn't mean that it's necessarily positive-sum. An economy that gets out of balance can produce very negative results, which are still non-zero. So it's good to develop an appreciation for what a capitalist market economy does well and what it doesn't. This is by no means an exhaustive list. So we have the pros. It creates value through labour with prices that are naturally set through supply and demand. So, for many goods, the price is naturally set in a way that allows all the product produced to be sold and not left rotting on the shelf, and not sold out so quickly that people are left without any on the shelf to buy. It involves the allocation of credit, an indication of societal trust, according to Yuval Noah Harari. In Sapiens, Yuval Noah Harari points out that the credit system is a symptom of a high-trust environment. Over the last 500 years, the idea of progress convinced people to put more and more trust in the future. This trust created credit. Credit brought real economic growth, and growth strengthened the trust in the future and opened the way for even more credit. It incentivizes companies to optimize productivity, which can result in greater efficiency and resource utilization, and give rise to technological innovation. On the cons, it cannot be relied on to provide adequate social services, including healthcare and education. It can be expected to run at a cost to externalities. those things not factored into a company's bottom line, like the environment or employee well-being. And it can produce products that are detrimental to well-being. There is no natural imperative for any company to produce products that are good for society, because the market caters to wants, like cigarettes, pornography, or alcohol, rather than to needs, like food, housing, or healthcare. It is clear, given a short list of pros and cons, that capitalism has benefits, but requires regulation and a mechanism to provide social services. While capitalism is non-zero-sum, by creating a straw man of Gordon Gekko, Wall Street ironically inspired a whole new generation of ambitious young capitalists to see his zero-sum conception of capitalism as the ideal, modelling themselves on him and espousing his maxim, greed is good. As Gillian Tett of the Financial Times points out in Capital in the 21st Century, when Gordon Gekko was seen on film saying greed is good, that was intended to be a howl of protest against the system. But such had the cultural fabric changed that actually for some people coming through universities, applying to join investment banks, that phrase greed is good actually became a license to pursue riches. Now, do I mean to lay responsibility for Ayn Randian free market dogmatism and the state of today's crony capitalism at the hands of a misguided filmmaker? Not exactly. As Tett mentions, the cultural fabric had changed already in 1987 so that the message of Wall Street was interpreted in such a way. But I do think the more we approach capitalism as a zero-sum game, whether playing the game or criticising it, the worse it functions. Well-being. We have to remind ourselves that any system is not an end in itself, but a means to provide greater well-being, and that when the economic markers of success like the Dow Jones or GDP become decoupled from human well-being should trump these markers. Well-being can be lost or made. It isn't simply transferred. So we must ask if the system is functioning in a zero-sum or a non-zero-sum way. The further we can push it towards non-zero, the better. So, my intention with this post has been to give an unbiased account of capitalism as it relates to non-zero-sum games, while addressing problematic interpretations of it. My bias is always towards non-zero-sum solutions, whether they come from a free market or from regulation, taxation, and social spending. My political view is boringly that all these elements are important. Non-zero-sum games happen at the intersection of individual interests and collective ones. At this moment, I also just want to make a point that I've actually been toying with the idea of a partner episode to this one on capitalism entitled Is Socialism Non-Zero-Sum? But I'm finding that the answer to that question is so obviously yes that it's been difficult to find an interesting angle with which to approach the issue. So I haven't got around to writing it yet. But I want to clarify, if I haven't already adequately done so in the episode, that while there are benefits to capitalism, I also believe there are many benefits to wealth distribution, taxation, public health and education, social welfare, and many other aspects that fall under the problematic and ambiguous title of socialism. And of course, I'm always interested in how others view these political issues, and particularly what underlying motivations move people. So please indulge me and share yours in the comments at the site. Next, we're going to move from these up in the clouds issues to some more personal applications of ethical economics, looking at how we can best allocate our own efforts and our attention as individuals, beginning with a kindness equation.